Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We are beginning our devotion on the epistle to the Hebrews, the book of Hebrews, which is written like the Gospel of Matthew to a Jewish audience, a Jewish community, to help them understand how Jesus Christ is the fulfillment of the Old Testament prophecies, how he is the fullness of God's work in the world. And so the chapter 1 is really an introduction to the magnificence of Christ. And he begins by saying, in the former ages, God spoke through his prophets. But in these last days, at the end of time, God has spoken through an even greater and really the ultimate revelation, which is through his Son. And he's greater because he's the fulfillment of all the Old Testament prophecies. It goes on to say that he is co-creator with God. And it sounds a lot, the language is a lot like John chapter 1. The Word was with God, the Word was God, and through him, through the Word, all things were created. And so Jesus Christ is co-creator with God. Now, it uses the language appointed, and we need to not take this out of context. It wasn't that Jesus was appointed Christ. What the language is that before there's a creation, before there's even time, Christ is appointed co-creator with God. He is the Son from the very beginning. And so God appointed Christ to rule over everything because he created everything, right? And he's appointed heir of all things because all things are created through him and redeemed through him. The Son is the radiance of God's glory. I mean, he shares in the divinity of God because he is God, and he is the fullness of that radiance. So he's already ahead of the angels. The angels are created by God. They're creations. The Son is not a creation of the Father. He is begotten of the Father. He is from the Father, but not created by the Father. He is the extension of who the Father is. He's the right hand of God, which is the language that the author of Hebrews would use. And so he's the exact representation, shares in the glory of God. And just like the Father, all things are sustained by him, by Christ, through the Word. And he bears the very stamp of God's nature, and he holds our world in existence and cares for all things. And then it goes on to say that he provided himself for the purification of sins, and that Christ is giving himself to reconcile us to God, which reminds us of the language of 2 Corinthians chapter 5. And so because he gave himself, he became superior, inherited a superior name than all others, because he died for our sins, is raised from our dead. And so he now sits at the right hand of the divine majesty. Jesus Christ is King, Lord over all. And he is the right hand of God. He is the work of God in the world. And so he's far bigger than anything we can imagine. That's why we talk about this high Christology. He's not just some bumbling along itinerant preacher. He is the Son of God. Well, thanks, friends. Have a blessed day.